So when we're looking at the workforce from a generational perspective, right? Research tells us, and don't get scared, that 50% of the workforce over the next couple of years is going to be dominated by millennials. We got millennials in the room. Are there a few millennials here? We got about 4 or 5 millennials. So one of the most common calls that I get in the world of consulting and HR strategy is, can you come into our organization? And what they say is, we need you to help us learn strategies on how to lead across generations. And the funniest thing is when I go in and I start doing some of the training and the conversations start to happen, I figure out that what they really meant was, can you come in and help us deal with these millennials? It's really, the conversation always goes back to the millennials. And then they say, you know, these millennials, they're coming. These millennials, they're coming. I'm like, no, the millennials are already here. Are you ready? I was at a conference yesterday. I was speaking to a group of actuarials. You know, they do a lot around employee benefits and risk management in companies. And I said to them, how ready are your organizations to be able to embrace this reality of the fact that it's going to be 51% women, 54% people of color, and 50% of the workforce is going to be millennials. How ready are you? And fair enough, they say we're probably at a 5 or a 6. I ask you to think about the same question. How ready are you and your organizations to be able to deal with the realities? And particularly around millennials, because 75% of them will make up workforce 2030. How ready are you? What do you need to do differently in your organizations? How does your culture need to shift? How does your leadership behaviors need to change? What strategies, policies, and benefit packages do you need to change in order to attract this more diverse, multicultural, multi-generational, millennial-dominated, hyper-connected, mobile and virtual workforce? That's complex, right? Highly complex. This VUCA world, this era of disruption. This is a disruption to our workplaces. And many of the organizations are not ready, particularly if you've been around longer than 50 years. A lot of our benefit programs, our recruiting strategies, our leadership development programs, and even our technology may be considered like an iPhone 1. A little outdated, right? A little obsolete. So we have to kind of think about what that means. With the millennials, they are actually going to really determine the state of business success. They're going to diabolically shift a lot of the strategies that we have in place right now. Think about some of the common challenges that you have with even the millennial workforce. Not only challenges, but what are some of the shifts that you know you already need to make? Let me hear from just a few of you. What are some of the challenges you're already facing and know that you've got to address in your workplaces? Flexible work schedules, absolutely. What else? Digital, absolutely, yes. Social media, you're hitting every one of them. What else? Compensation. They're not as interested in your benefits, they're more interested in your perks, right? What are some of the perks that you offer now? Because as you think about long term, they're not, right? They're looking at shifts in the immediacy within 2 to 3 years. They're not thinking about 25, 30, 40 years from now when I retire. Pension plan, really? 401k, really? Right? Thrift savings? Nah. They're looking at things like, okay, what are some of the flexible schedules that you offer? They want to look at what's the dress code, right? They want to know what's the latest technology that you offer. What are some of the challenging projects that I can be on? What's visible? How quickly can I move in the organization? What are some of the other perks? Oh, do you do yoga in your organization? You have health and wellness programs? Oh, wow, I would love it if I could get a parking pass. Those are the kinds of perks that I'm laughing, but it's serious, right? Millennials, what else are you looking for? There's a couple of you in here. Represent. What are some of the other things that are important to you?
Communication.
Communication, absolutely. What else? Did I hit all the other ones? Good, yes. Oh, she said, yeah, you hit them all, right? So those are the things that are more important. And actually, we talk about compensation. They want it to be competitive, but they are actually willing to take a 20% pay cut, according to some HR studies. They're willing to take a 20% pay cut if they have some of those other perks, flexible work arrangements, great challenging work opportunities. being able to shift and change. Having some of those, we love yoga, or we want parking passes, or it'd be great if we had some of the massages on site. A lot of companies now doing massages on site. I worked for a company where they subsidize it, and every other Thursday you could go and get a massage. So it was great to have some of those, and then they want to work for a company that's got great branding. They're willing to take pay cuts, so money isn't necessarily their number one driver. It only becomes a key driver when those other things are not there. So very important for us to know that, yes, we have to think about the workforce. Yes, research does tell us that they're going to be making job transitions every 2 to 3 years. So how are you then building your pipeline around talent to allow some of that to happen? How are you building growth and development and mentoring programs so that they can learn? Now, they're willing to stay at your organizations if all of those things are in place. If there's the right culture, they're working for the right kind of boss, if they got the right kind of challenging opportunities. But if those things are not there, you can look at that as a revolving door in your organization. And quite frankly, that's not just unique to the millennials now. Some of the other generations are also reporting those are some of the things that are most important to them as well. Flexibility is not just a millennial desire. Everyone wants flexible work arrangements now, simply because we're connected all the time. We never really shut down. How many of you, when you leave the banks and you leave your organizations at the end of the day, 5, 6 o'clock, you shut down and don't turn it back on? Thank you. But you're honestly not one person. Right? We're constantly connected, returning emails, on conference calls, looking at text messages and communicating through social media based on work. I mean, if we looked at all the hours that we're putting in, we're probably getting paid about $3.25 an hour. Because I think most of all of us are salaried, right? So whether we work 90 hours or 50 hours, we're salaried, get the same pay. But we're putting in a lot more hours than really what our pay is, because we're always constantly connected. So think about it from the millennials' perspective, is that they're going to be transitioning quite a bit. So we have to think about how then do we build those pipelines that allow for that, but then what are some of the things that we can do inside of our organizations that makes them want to stay? So let's think about then the millennials here and the fact that they are not only our talent of the future, but they are also our consumers as well. So we say women contribute somewhere between 12 and 13 trillion to the gross domestic product, or to consumer spending. People of color, it was 4 trillion. And independent millennial workers, what does independent mean? Living on their own, right? That's a great thing. $2.7 trillion by 2025 that they also will contribute to the gross domestic product as well. So Generation Z, now we've got a 5th generation coming into the workplace. It's already complex, and now there's going to be a 5th layer. This is the first time in history that we will have 4, now 5 generations working alongside each other at the same time. Key and critical challenge that organizations will have to address. It's not a reality that's going to go away. It's not going to come and then, oh my God, now it's shifted. No, it's going to continue to add layers of complexity. So how many of you in here have Generation Zs? Generation Zs were born in the 1990s through about 2010. So the oldest now about 16, 17 years old. Who's got 16, 17-year-olds in the room? Yeah, so they're about working age now, so they'll be hitting the workplace in the next couple of years, if not yet already. And so the Generation Z has some very unique opportunities as well. Now think about what they're exposed to in this day and age. So now my daughter did not get her first cell phone until she was 13, 14 years old. Generation Z gets their first cell phone for their first birthday. Now, how many of you have like little Generation Zs that can pick your phone up? They can go straight to the games. They sometimes, if you're really honest, they'll show you how to work your phone, right? They're the ones that are actually going to be even more connected. Social media, online games, all kinds of technology. This is the way that they communicate. So think about it from like some organizations I work with want to put up a firewall to prevent workers from being able to go on social media or use the internet. That is absolutely going to be, anti-millennial worker. They don't want to be able to have to shut down and shut away from life, because for them, this is their lifeline. Millennials and Generation Z, that's the way that they communicate. There's a study done at a university not too long ago, and the professor was on the Today Show talking about it, where he did a study, and just for 2 weeks, only 2 weeks, he asked his millennial students to give up their cell phones. You thought that they had been asked to cut off a limb. It was the hardest thing for them to do. And it's because that's what they know, that's what for them. And a lot of us too, if we're really honest, is that we go to bed with our phone right by our nightstand. And it's the first thing we pick up in the morning. So again, and scientific study shows that there's a lot of dopamine that's released, and it's something about it's a drug, so to speak, that causes us to really want to just kind of pick that phone up when we hear the vibration. It's just a need and a desire. So not only are we a younger society and a younger workforce, but we are also an older society as well. So you got the youngest and the oldest segments of our population are the largest. Look at this study. By 2030, population of those who are over 65 will hit nearly 1 billion people. When I started in the workforce over 30 years ago and was working on, putting together HR strategies, and we were putting benefit plans in, and a lot of the retirement plans were really built back in the 50s and the 60s because people were only living to about 68 on average was the lifespan. And now the average lifespan is somewhere 75, 80 years old. And if you see some of those Smucker commercials, you can see people that are 104 and 110. People are living a lot longer now through modern medicine and through modern technology. So the oldest and the youngest workers. My parents are in their 70s, and even though they're retired, they're kind of semi-retired. They're still in the workforce. They work part-time. And so you'll have workers that are well over 65 and some even 70 that will still be in the workplace, working alongside those who just got out of college, and that they got more education, but then you're working along people who have worked in the workforce for 35, 40, and 50 years, who may not have as much education, but they got the experience. They got that tacit knowledge that's up here. And that's the hardest challenge, is trying to have a millennial come in who is now managing a traditionalist or a boomer in the workplace. Real different, right? Real conflict as well. And so all of these different needs start to collide in the workplace as well, bringing on a greater level of complexity. So with generational differences, you've got everything from different needs that they have in the workforce, to different expectations, to different ways that they work. Their work ethic is different. And oftentimes what I find, if we're not careful in this great divide of diversity, is the older generation thinks that the younger generation is just very entitled. We hear that a lot. There's even studies and books written about it, right? Now, if they're entitled, and they grew up with the trophies, and I can admit to that, because my daughter was terrible at sports. She was not good at soccer. She was not great at basketball. She was wonderful, a singer, a performer, a dancer, and those kinds of things. But when she tried out for soccer and basketball, everybody got to pick to play. She wasn't really good. And when I grew up, I played basketball, ran track, and I played softball. And at that time, if you sucked, you sat on the bench. You didn't get to play. And you didn't even get a trophy. But the younger kids now, the millennials, everybody gets a trophy. It's called a participation trophy, right? So think about that era of them growing up and now coming into the workplace, right? So where everyone is recognized and rewarded, and everyone gets a trophy, and they're all told that they're wonderful, they're special, they're great, you can do it, you can have anything. Because as parents, we gave them whatever they wanted. And now they come into the workplace, and they're asking for the world. And then we also have to deal with, like, the helicopter parents. How many of you in here, if you'll admit it, you're a helicopter parent? Okay, thank you for the honesty. I was, back in the day when I was working, about a couple of years ago, I was working at a job fair, and we were working with a client, and we were trying to hire more minorities and more women. And so, you go to the job fairs and the career fairs and that kind of thing. It was the funniest thing to see the helicopter parents come into the job fair. So mom was bringing Johnny's resume, and Johnny wasn't with her. It's like, where's Johnny? Johnny was probably at home playing video games, but mom was out looking for a job for Johnny. Now, being in HR, and I kid you not, some of you may have had some of these experiences. When Johnny then was hired at a company, that's a different Johnny, Johnny who did go to the job fair himself, and got the job, Johnny didn't get rated the rating that he thought he should have gotten. because 3 is too average. I've always been told my whole life I'm wonderful, I'm special, I'm great. And a 3, right? So Johnny's mom calls and wants to know why Johnny did not get rated higher. Or, God forbid, Johnny did not get the promotion. And you get a call as to why he didn't. Now, this is the big kicker. Have you ever had an interview with someone and mom came to the interview? Okay, I'm making fun of these helicopter parents, but it is actually a reality. So think about, again, if you have millennials that have kind of grown up in that era, right? So they are the result of how they've been socialized and what they've been exposed to. So these are the kinds of things we've got to think about even in the workplace. But they also come with great tech-savvy skills. They are willing to take risks. They will challenge the status quo. They will ask the whys. That's why even the millennials have another nickname. We call them Generation Y. Because they say, why do we have to do it that way? Why is it being done that way? Why wasn't I asked? And they also want a seat at the table. And you know why? Because they grew up having a seat at the table at home. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up in a household where mom and dad had a meeting and they told us what we were going to do. And you didn't question it, you didn't talk back, you definitely didn't ask why. In the newer generation, you had a family meeting and everyone was at the table. And everyone got to say, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to go there, you know. And so now coming into the workplace, what happens? The reality is, I want a seat at the table. And I just got here 6 months ago. Or I want to be promoted to vice president. I can do that job. Hey, I've been doing this job now for over a year. I got this. I'm ready for the next opportunity. So think about some of those realities. I'm making light of it, but no, not really. Some of these things I really have experienced within the workplace in HR. So think about some of these realities as well that we have too. Communication skills, oh my God. Right? Gone are those long memorandums. You can't expect that younger generation is going to read a 10-page memo or a 2-page email or all the 50, 100 emails that are coming. You have to text them. Right? They want to be able to text. And they want to call in and say, I'm sick today. They don't want to call in, they want to text in. So it's interesting as some of the dynamics in the workplace.